Morning.
Our topic today will be influence, particularly negative influence, the effect of negative influence. Can anyone in the audience tell me what influence really is? Yes.
The effect of one human upon another.
Good. Anyone else?
The ability to persuade how other people, affect how other people think, or kind of mold other people's thoughts or actions.
Correct. Both of these definitions are correct. Influence is to affect or alter the conduct, the thought, or even the character of another. What is something that's common among us is that we all have influence. We all possess influence. As a matter of fact, the Bible agrees to this point. According to Romans, we find in Romans chapter 14 says this. When everyone's there, Romans 14 verse 7 reads, "For whether we live unto the Lord." Verse 7. "For none of us liveth to himself, and no man dieth to himself." What is this verse trying to tell us? That no man lives unto himself. So the verse agrees to say that influence is to affect or alter the conduct, thought, or character of another. So then, what is bad influence? What is bad influence? Someone's pointing to each other.
Negatively alter, affect the character.
Very good. To negatively affect or alter someone's conduct, thought, or character. Let's look at a few examples in the Bible of negative influence. So please turn with me to 2 Chronicles chapter 22. That is 2 Chronicles, what chapter?
22.
Yes, 2 Chronicles chapter 22. We are going to look at our first example of negative influence. And it's verses 3 and 4. 2 Chronicles chapter 22, verses 3 and 4. "He also walked in the ways of the house of who? Ahab. For his mother was his counselor to do what? Wrong, or my version says wickedly." And verse 4, "So wherefore he did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of who? Ahab. For they were his counselors after the death of his father to his destruction." This is talking about Amaziah, the king of Judah. Who was his counselor?
The house of Ahab.
The house of Ahab. And because of the influence of the house of Ahab, the king of Judah did what in the sight of the Lord?
Evil.
Evil. He did wickedly. Because of the influence of his father's house, he did evil in the sight of the Lord. Let's look at Galatians 5. Yet another example of evil influence. That is Galatians chapter 5, verse 7 through 9. It says, "Ye did run well. Who did hinder you that ye should not obey the truth. This persuasion cometh not of him that calleth you. A little leaven leaveneth how much?
The whole lump.
Here the apostle is asking them, who hindered you? This influence or this persuasion came from who? From the devil. So the evil influence ultimately comes from where? Well, the apostle clearly says that it did not come from the one that called them, but it came from the devil. Let's look at another example. 1 Kings, chapter 11. 1 King. Go with me, please, to 1 Kings, chapter 11, verses 3 and 4. And he was with her hid in the house of the Lord how many years? I'm sorry, I was in 2 Kings. So we're going to 1 Kings, chapter 11, verses 3 and 4. And he had 700 what? Wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives, this is the key word, everyone, and his wives did what? Turn away his heart. This is the man that built the house for the Lord. This is the man that when apostasy was there, he was ready to direct the people and pray for them and dedicate the house of God. This was the man that God trusted to build him a house. But his wives turned his heart. Is this good or bad influence? Everyone, is this good or bad influence?
Bad influence.
Bad influence. Let's look at 2 Chronicles, chapter 33. 2 Chronicles, chapter 33, and verse 9. It says, So Manasseh made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to do what? To err, to do evil, and to do worse than who? The heathen, whom the Lord had destroyed before the children of Israel. This man, this leader, Manasseh, he made the children of Israel do evil, much worse than who? The heathen. How can that be possible? Could you say that he had a great influence on the people? He did. Was it for good or for evil? For evil. His influence turned the entire nation against God. And our last example. Let's look at 1 Kings, chapter 22. And verse 51. 1 Kings 22:51. Ahaziah, the son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel in Samaria the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 2 years over Israel. Did his reign last very long? 2 years. You know why? Read with me the next verse. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, and walked in the way of his father, in the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin.